Ever since I was a young lad growing up in a small town in a relatively peripheral part of Ireland, I always dreamed of the big city, of one day living in a vast metropolis, and not just any vast metropolis, but the biggest city you could imagine, a city so big that it would contain all of human life, in which the experiences would be inexhaustible. And that was also what attracted me to a lot of the books I loved. I remember reading The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe, and I was obsessed with the vision of the city that he creates at the beginning, Nessus. This sprawling, half abandoned, ruinous city, uh, full of strange buildings that warp time and space and weird sects, strange plants and animals. Then there was Ulysses by James Joyce, which I read piece by piece, very, very slowly over many years starting from when I was a teenager. And even though I didn't understand most of it, I was fascinated by this attempt to recreate the modern metropolis using poetry and stream of consciousness and cutting edge prose techniques. So today I have hauled myself some books that may be candidates for that great city novel. A novel where the city itself is the main character, or at least the setting of the city is more important than any one character in the book. So, first up, we have Petersburg by Andrei Bely, translated from the Russian by John Ellsworth. And you know, this one is a city novel because it has the name of the city in the title, namely St. Petersburg in Russia. Let's see what we've got here. After enlisting in a revolutionary terrorist organization, university student Nikolai Apollonovich, and another long Russian name, is entrusted with a highly dangerous mission to plant a bomb and assassinate a major government figure. But next, here is what I'm interested in. But the real central character of the novel is the city of Petersburg itself. Doesn't say itself, I put that part in. At the beginning of the 20th century, caught in the grip of political agitation and social unrest. Nice. And Vladimir Nabokov, no less, says of this that it is one of the four most important works of 20th century literature. I wonder what the other three are. Maybe those were ones that Nabokov wrote himself. Next up, it is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Now, a lot of these city books, these city novels, get compared to Ulysses by James Joyce. This one also, like Ulysses, takes place over a single day in June. This is sometime, I think, in the 1920s. It was published in 1925. Kind of stream of consciousness, I think. I read the first 10 pages and it was beautiful. This striking, kind of kaleidoscopic, shifting, impressionistic flow of the city as the titular character, Mrs. Dalloway, moves through it. Clarissa Dalloway, the glamorous wife of an MP, is preparing for a party she is giving that evening and remembering those she once loved. In another part of the city, Septimus Smith is being driven mad by shell shock. As the day draws to an end, different worlds, past, present, and future, are brought together. And this doesn't even have any blurbs on it, any recommendations, so doesn't need it. It's already famous enough. Next, it's Berlin Alexanderplatz by Alfred Doblin, translated from German by Michael Hoffman. This is the Weimar Republic. You can see on the front there's the George Gross illustration depicting a kind of a city hellscape. You got a man screaming. You've got a naked woman, a skeleton in a military uniform. The Weimar Republic, of course, was the era that was birthed from the end of the First World War and came to an end with the with the rise to power of the Nazis. An era that was famous for runaway inflation. You had these images of people bringing their wages home in a wheelbarrow. It was a time of endemic violence, of street fighting and corruption. It was also a time when art flourished. There was more freedom, social freedom, artistic freedom. And this particular book is about a Franz Bieberkopf is his name, and he's just been released from prison. He's trying to go straight in this chaotic, confusing, new, modern metropolis world. And again, gets compared to Ulysses, but this is not stream of consciousness at all. It's more of a collage of city ephemera and news reports and music, the kind of thing you would hear as you drift through the streets. There's also a mini series of this by the German director Fassbinder, which I often see gets named in kind of best films of all time lists. Not near the top, but it's in there. Okay. Next, The Seven Madmen by Roberto Arlt, translated. Oh, the translator is not on the front. I have to open it. Translated from the Spanish by Nick Heistor. This is about a man who is fired from his job and wanders the streets, worrying about the fate of his eternal soul, I think. And he comes under the influence of this sort of cult leader figure called the astrologer. What does it say here? He wanders the crowded, confusing streets of Buenos Aires, thronging with immigrants almost as displaced and alienated as he is. You know, we all love a bit of alienation in our novels. Riley memorialized the polyglot vitality of Buenos Aires. Good. And Roberto Bolaño says, let's say modestly that art is Jesus Christ. So not faint praise there. Not aware that Jesus Christ wrote any novels. But anyway. Next. This is heavy. It's very big. This is over 1,000 pages. The Man Without Qualities by Robert Musil, which was unfinished at the time of the author's death, and also might be unfinished at the time of my death, because I've had this for years and years. I've carried it around so much to various countries. It's been sitting in various storage units. And I've never managed to penetrate much more than about 200 pages into its modernist depths. Now, I'm noticing there might be a slight kind of subgenre of the city novel, which is a portrait of some society or way of life that is about to come crashing to a halt. In this case, it's the Austria-Hungarian Empire, which is about to be swept away by the coming of the First World War. 1913, Viennese high society is gripped by a mission to find an appropriate way of celebrating the 70th jubilee of the accession of Emperor Franz Joseph. But as the aristocracy tries to salvage something illustrious out of the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian, that's how you say it, empire, the ordinary Viennese world is beginning to show signs of more serious rebellion. Caught in the middle of this social labyrinth is Ulrich, youngish, rich, an ex-soldier, seducer, and scientist. That last part sounds like the tagline for a Dan Brown novel. But I don't believe this was an influence on Dan Brown. It's translated by Sophie Wilkins and Burton Pike, and this often gets placed as kind of the third part of the great 20th century trilogy, which includes Proust's In Search of Lost Time and Ulysses by James Joyce. So Illustrious Company, I hope to finish it one day. Next, it is The Hive by Camilo Jose Cela. Translated by James Womack, translated from Spanish. Now, this might be a very pure form of the city novel because I don't think there is a plot. As the title suggests, this is kind of constructed of separate vignettes that are placed next to each other, like the cells in a beehive. I don't know how much they're connected, except for the fact that they all take place in Madrid. It's in the 1940s, not long after the end of the Spanish Civil War, when the regime of General Francisco Franco was at its most oppressive. This book includes more than 300 characters whose comings and goings it tracks to hypnotic effect. Scabrous, scandalous, and profane, The Hive is a virtuosic group portrait of a wounded and sick society. There we go again. And Roberto Bolaño is back. And he says, there's a secret slot for Cela at his best as one of the great prose stylists, plural, of Spain, a man dangerously like us. So he's not quite saying he's Jesus Christ, but that's okay. Still good. And winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. Right, last, but certainly not least, the novel I've been hovering around this entire video. It's Ulysses by James Joyce. I think, this is often considered the quintessential kind of city novel. James Joyce said something to the effect of, like, if Dublin were ever destroyed, it could be reconstructed brick by brick, just by referring to his novel. What to say? It's a single day, takes place over the course of a single day in June 1904, I think. It was published in 1922. It's long, it's dense, it's complicated, it's confusing, experimental. Two main characters, Leopold Bloom and Stephen Dedalus, are circling towards each other as they make their way through the streets of Dublin. I have read it before, about twice, but not for many years, so I'm looking forward to seeing how my perspective on it has changed. Yeah, okay. And there we go. So, candidates for the Great City novel. Let me know which ones you would include in the list, and goodbye.